Your parents loved you. They fed you, clothed you, drove you to soccer practice in the rain, and probably embarrassed you at least once in front of your friends. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody talks about. They may have accidentally taught you to be bad with money. And not because they were irresponsible, not because they didn't care, but because they were passing down the same broken lessons that were handed to them. And right now, those lessons are quietly costing you thousands of dollars a year. I'm going to show you the biggest financial mistakes parents accidentally teach their kids, and more importantly, how to unlearn them before it's too late. Because the good news? Once you see these patterns clearly, you can break the cycle. For yourself. And one day, for your own kids. Stay with me because the third mistake on this list is the one that affects literally everyone. And almost no one talks about it. It changed the way I think about money completely. Let's get into it. Picture this. You're 10 years old. You're sitting at the dinner table and you ask your dad, "Hey, how much money do we make?" And what happens? He looks at you like you just asked him to explain quantum physics in Portuguese. He says something like, "That's not something we talk about." This is where it starts. For millions of people, money was treated like a shameful secret. Something adults whispered about behind closed doors. And here's the brutal irony. The less your parents talked about money, the less equipped you became to handle it. You were sent out into the real world. With mortgages, credit scores, tax returns, having never once had an honest conversation about how any of it works. Research from Cambridge University found that money habits are formed in children as early as 7 years old. 7. The fix isn't complicated. Talk about money. Normalize it. Ask questions. Knowledge isn't just power when it comes to finances. It's protection. Now, I know what you're thinking. Avoiding debt sounds responsible. But there is such a thing as good debt. And your parents probably never told you that. Growing up, a lot of us were taught that debt is evil. Bad. Something to run from and never touch. Borrow nothing. Owe nobody. Stay clean. Debt, used strategically, is how most wealthy people build wealth. Think about it this way. A mortgage is debt, but it lets you own an asset. A business loan is debt, but it funds an operation that can generate 10 times what was borrowed. It can be an investment, not just a burden. The problem isn't debt itself. The problem is bad debt, high-interest consumer debt, credit cards with 20-something% interest rates, borrowing for things that lose value the second you walk out of the store. If they never taught you the difference, that's the gap that costs you. And here's where we need to pause. Because mistake number 3 is the big one. The one that affects almost everyone and costs the most money. Every parent wants their kid to save. That's a good instinct. No, saving alone is not enough. You might actually be losing money right now. There's a concept called inflation. You've felt it. That thing where a grocery run that used to cost $80 now costs $120. Where the purchasing power of your dollar quietly, invisibly shrinks over time. Historically, inflation runs at about 2 to 3% per year. Most traditional savings accounts pay you somewhere between 0.1% and 1%. If inflation is eating 3%, your money is getting poorer while it sits there. Your parents told you to save to protect you. No, money needs to work. It needs to be invested. It needs to grow faster than inflation. Now, I'm not saying don't save. Having an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, is critical. That is money you protect. But everything else? Put it to work. Mistake 4 is subtle. Ask most people what would solve their financial problems, and they'll say the same thing. More money, win the lottery, get a raise. But here's what the data tells us. Studies on lottery winners show that within just a few years, a shocking percentage are back to their original situation or worse. The skill of managing $1,000 a month well is the same skill that manages $10,000 a month well. The habits don't automatically appear when numbers get bigger. Your parents might have said, "Stop spending money on silly things." But not all spending is equal. You need to know the difference between expenses that shrink and expenses that grow. Shrinking expenses are the typical kind. You spend money, you receive something, the money is gone and there's nothing else to show for it. A new outfit, a dinner out. Growing expenses, or growing investments, are where spending today creates more money tomorrow. Paying for a course, investing in an index fund. These are different. Mistake 6, financial anxiety. If you grew up watching your parents stress about money, there's a real chance you absorb that stress. It lives in you now. Financial anxiety leads to bad decisions. Paralysis. Not investing because it feels too risky. Breaking this pattern means building real financial knowledge. That's what reduces fear. Your parents weren't trying to set you up to fail. Every mistake came from a place of love or their own limited education. But those gaps can be closed. Step 1. Have one honest money conversation this week. With a partner, a friend, or just with yourself. Talk about money. Break the silence. Step 2. Figure out where your money actually goes. Pull up your last 30 days of transactions and categorize them. It will tell you more about your life than anything else. Step 3. Subscribe to My Little Finances. If you found value today, there's a lot more coming. We're going to break down exactly how investing works from zero. Which one of these 6 mistakes hit closest to home? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Thank you for being here on day 1. This is just the beginning.